Hey everyone, and we are live. I was just commenting on the post. We are live with this week's episode of Hot Jobs, where Tara and I share the week's hottest jobs, internships, and career search advice with live Q&A. So if you are joining us today, please let us know where you're joining from. If you are a job seeker, let us know what type of job you are looking for. Be fairly specific and where you want to do it. And if you have any questions, anything at all about the transition, about job seeking, about applicant tracking systems, about negotiating salary, about starting a business, about LinkedIn, whatever it is, please drop them in the chat and we will make sure to do our best to answer any of those questions. So Tara is in Chicago and she said it's absolutely beautiful there. I am in the DC area. It should be flipped. And I am here and it's absolutely miserable outside. So, it is what it is. And for those joining us on the East Coast, I will tell you, allegedly, it rained the entire weekend. But I was in Pittsburgh inside a convention center watching 10,000 girls play volleyball the whole weekend. So I didn't even notice. And so just blessed to be able to spend that time with my daughter. Tara, how was your weekend?
Weekend here was good. We actually had some pretty great weather. I finally got in my herb garden. I got some flowers, so I got some outside work done, which was great. I also heard, Mike, I heard over the weekend that actually Memorial Day is 50-50 on the last couple of years on whether you get a sunny day or a rainy day. So guys, you heard it here first. Plan your Memorial Day accordingly next year. It's a 50-50 shot on whether you get good weather.
That's a great point. Last year it was cold.
Yes.
And overcast, and me and my son still went and got in the pool.
Yeah.
So it was like the water was 57 degrees. I said, dude, we're doing a cold plunge.
Yeah.
Like it's Memorial Day. We're getting I wasn't here this time, but we got in. We're gonna go try and get in tonight if it's still open. At least my son and my daughter. My son's 11. He'll still do it. My daughter's 14. She's like, no chance, Dad.
I'm out.
Zero chance. I'm out. So, but speaking of having a chance, let's talk about our partners at Heritage Roofing and Construction. That sounds like may have had good weather this weekend down in Central Texas. I didn't hear anything negative. But what I love about Heritage Construction is they're all about opportunity and culture. And what I love about their jobs specifically is that you are helping people and you are not behind a desk all day. So if you are somebody that likes being outdoor, likes helping people, like sometimes getting their hands a little bit dirty, and you want to make really good money, they've got these project manager, account manager roles where you go to regions that were impacted by weather, or they give you houses that were impacted by weather events. And, you offer to take a look at the house and see what damage is there. And you can even process the claim for them. And so you're literally, and there's no charge to them for you to go take a look or anything else like that. So it really is a super cool job. I have a buddy that does this in the Philadelphia area. He makes mad money. And he loves it because really these are people that are going through a hard time. And ultimately you're taking all that requirement to go back and forth with the, insurance companies and getting all the claims that somebody's taking that off your plate and just taking care of it. So if you are a veteran and you are interested in that opportunity in Central Texas with Heritage Roofing and Construction, go ahead and check out that role on hiremilitary.us. All right. So on to the topics of the day. The first one is one I posted about a couple days ago. It's about salary negotiation. And it is not something that transitioning military or recent veterans are used to doing.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure people understand it is called salary negotiation, not take this salary and leave it, right? Negotiation means there's a back and forth between both sides. Typically how it works in one of the first calls, the recruiter will ask your salary requirements because they want to determine whether they can close you. If the job's only paying $50,000 and you say you want $200,000, you're not a best candidate. It's not going to work out. There's no reason to keep going forward. That is why they do that. Now, when it comes to the offer side, you have to understand that total compensation is more than just salary. There's sign-on bonuses. There's retention bonuses. There's relocation bonuses. There's PTO. There's benefits packages. Sometimes there's parking. Sometimes there's, telework or remote work option. Sometimes There's, cell phones that they'll cover the bill for. There's a lot of different things in there and part of that total comp. And I think the military service members just kind of miss out on that. So my advice to everyone is that if you're just getting out of the military, you're a recent, veteran, find a mentor that's done it for a while and have them take a look at your offer letter. Let them advise you on what you should ask for. And I just had somebody, I love them as a person. They just sent me notes that I signed the offer, and I said, "Did you get someone to review it?" And he goes, "No, I saw your post, but it was good. Like they gave me, more money than I expected, and the benefits were good, and everything else was okay." And I'm like, "You still suck. Like you still should have had someone look onto it. You don't go to a car dealership and say like you say how much is this car, and they give you the first offer. You're like, oh yeah, that's good. And if you do, you kind of suck, or you have more money than you think of, right? You negotiate, right? You say like, get me down a few grand, or you say let's take this off, or I don't need the clear code, or whatever. You negotiate, and it's the same thing with a job. Like, got it. Like you got a great first offer. You could have gotten a few extra grand, and you're not upsetting anyone. Whether it's a bonus, whether it's commission, whether it's reload, whatever, you could have gotten at least a few extra grand fairly easily. And I'm sure that they didn't come. No one ever comes to you with like, this is the highest end of what we're going to go. And if it is, they'll tell you this is our best and final.
Right? Yeah.
But until they say best and final, you got room to negotiate. What are your thoughts on this, Tara?
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, I always tell, especially service members, you need to be looking at the total compensation because that is more than just salary. It's great if they've offered you a salary over what you were thinking, but if you have no PTO, no paid holidays, no benefits, no 401k, these things start to eat away at those dollars. So you need to look at total compensation, especially if you, and also take into consideration what size company is this? Is this a small growing company that they are giving you stock options? That could be very valuable over time. Are they going to pay for all of your benefits for you, maybe plus one family member? So I think looking at total compensation is really important for anyone, but certainly for service members who may not be used to negotiating that. Number two, in negotiating salary, I always tell people, be prepared for a no. Be prepared for a no. It's absolutely fine to go in and say, hey, I'd like more PTO. I'd like a bigger bonus. I would like more salary. But are you prepared for them to say no? And if you aren't, then you haven't practiced this negotiation skill or you don't know the market, right? Because if they come back and say no, what's your option then? Are you going to be okay with the other offer? Is this really a position for you? Mike, I'm glad that you mentioned the best and final. I worked on a contract where I was recruiting for where I had a very limited budget. So I went in at the highest every single time. And I would tell candidates that I don't want to go back and forth with you. I don't have time. This is a high volume contract. Here is my best offer. And I promise you, I cannot get you $1 more. And I really meant it. And so I made that very clear to candidates.
Because then it wouldn't be, if they're not going to accept that, there's no reason for them to go forward, right?
Right.
It's about knowing whether the opportunity has the potential to turn into a hire. Otherwise, no one should be wasting their time.
Right.
So we got a great question before I get to the next topic. I appreciate you, Robert. So he said, what is the expected time to hear back from a company once I apply online? And what point should I move on to hunting for the next job? So I will tell you that you should never just be applying once and then waiting to hear back. So you should be actively networking and applying over and over and over again. Never get locked in on one company, one opportunity. You are dooming yourself to failure. But as far as the expected time to hear something back, I typically would say if you don't hear something back within 1 to 2 weeks, you're not a best candidate. You may get something down the road. A lot of times some recruiters won't close it out and send the auto reject thing until the actual rec is filled. But I'd say if you're a best candidate for that role, you'll hear back within about a week or so. What are your thoughts, Tara?
Yeah, I think 1 to 2 weeks is reasonable. If it's going to be longer than that, maybe this is a non-urgent hire. Someone should at least reach out to you saying, like, we reviewed your application, you're still in the running. We're making decisions over the course of the next X amount of weeks. Yeah, so I think that that's good advice, but agree, never just one at a time. I would also say companies understand that a job seeker is looking for a job, that they are not the only game in town. So
Right.
when I'm talking to candidates, I know that they are interviewing or looking or putting applications in elsewhere. And I think that makes you more marketable as a candidate, honestly.
Yeah, just being open and honest, but never get locked.
Yeah.
I see so many people start interviewing with companies and they stop looking elsewhere. They start
Yeah,
dreaming
keep
about it,
looking.
and then they come in second or third and they don't have a job and they just wasted 2 months,
Yeah.
of their timeline. So irons in the fire, irons in the
Yeah.
fire. All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of putting irons in the fire, and let's talk about time and investments. Like, how about how you are investing in your next career? I got a couple parts of this. One was I had a guy reach out to me last week. I mentioned only about 5% of people follow through. And what I mean by that is a great example was I had a USO webinar. There was over 150 people that attended. I said, I will give 5 informational interviews, mentorship calls. If you're ready for it, industry introductions, to 5 people that just take a photo and post it and say, and I had the hashtag USO transitions. Out of 150 plus people, only 8 people did it. So 5 of them got the calls. One of them is already interviewing for a SkillBridge internship with a company, which was lucky that he was one of, but the 5% is about the follow through rate. If you tell people to do work, only about 5% will do it. And so what I think I want people to understand is the amount of time and effort it takes to transition to the military. And you really can't out of the military. And you really, like, that number is staying consistent. I put 2 to 3 hours a day, every day for the entire final year. And if you do the math for that, I was probably close to 1,000 hours of networking, classes, conversations, LinkedIn, connecting, all that stuff, 2 to 3 hours every day, working on my resume, everything else like that. I feel like 500 plus hours is like the minimum for transitioning after such a large career and anywhere to land anywhere close to what you're doing in the military. And if you don't do it before you get out, then you're not going to land there when you do get out. And you're still going to have to do it at some point, but you're going to start lower on the ladder, right? Like, if you don't do any effort, you're not doing a lateral move. You'll probably start off lower and it could take you years to get back to the level you could have been had you invested that time and effort. So I just tell people, make sure you are investing the time and effort to do it. And then even today, I spend, probably close to an hour every day networking, growing my network, talking to people. Our CEO takes calls with people almost every day. He's got a mentorship call or a networking call or a conversation with another CEO. He's always doing it a little bit differently, but at the CEO level, he's got those conversations. He goes to those. He's got a bunch of groups he attends. He is consistently growing his network as well. And so I tell all of you, don't complain about nepotism. Don't complain about people getting the hire over you if you're not putting in the work to be one of those people. What are your thoughts, Tara?
Yeah, I think little steps every day. I'm sure there's people out there listening who think, no way do I have 2 hours every day to do this. Great, then spend 10 minutes. Do a little bit, right?
Yeah.
1% a day ends up being a whole lot over the course of 6
Yeah.
months and a year. So what can you do with whatever time you have today to help you down the road, I think, is really what we're after here. Waiting until the last minute for sure will not yield the results that you want. And you can't start too soon. If it's engaging with a company, a person, asking a thoughtful question, I think, Mike, when you talk about this too, you need to be intentional with your actions. So if you can get 5 really intentional minutes versus an hour of wasted time, guess what's going to get you further? The intentional 5 minutes.
Agreed. And I would say, if you don't think you have 2 hours, check your screen time on your devices.
100%.
You probably spent a few hours swiping over the course of the day. So let's, we got another one. So we have Joanne saying, about to report that I started a major course for about a year, and my goal after I fulfill my obligation to start my own small business. I've researched some government grants for female veterans. Would love to learn more about it once I complete the course. Ideally, I want to be my own boss or land a position that is remote. So I think there's a lot of things to unpack here. The first thing I'll say is land a position that is remote. isn't where you need to be, I would say, what is that specific job and can it be remote? You have to think about what exactly you want to do post-military and how that conflicts or does not conflict with your business goals. Second, I would say when you start thinking about your business, I would consider what your business is going to do and spend a lot of time learning and networking so you can build that you can ideally have a pipeline of clients kind of lined up before you roll in. And then, there's a lot of boot camps, like the SBA, Small Business Administration, has a lot of boot camps, and the Department of Labor does loans. Like we have the Apex Accelerator out here in Northern Virginia that has a lot of classes. There's also a Boots to Business portion of TAP. A lot of people do normal TAP. I would encourage you to do the normal mandatory TAP and then go back to the transition center and take Boots to Business. In fact, there's nothing to stop you, Sergeant Major, from going to the transition center there on Fort Bliss and taking their Boots to Business class while you're still at Fort Bliss, right?
There you go.
They're not going to say, no, you can't attend this. So I would encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities, do a lot of learning and relationship building before you launch that business. What would you add, Tara?
Yeah, I think you need a really clear why. And that's usually where it starts, right? So understanding your why. I'm always a little leery when someone has this grand idea and then they say it needs to be remote. And it could be a job that you can do remotely, but really consider what your business is going to do, who it will impact, and start there instead of saying it has to be this. But yeah, I love the recommendation for Boots to Business. I've been seeing a lot of posts about it recently. So we are a big proponent of using all of your resources. Mm-hmm. So that is a really great one.
All right, we got another one. Scott says, how early is too early to start applying for jobs based on transition start dates? So my advice is the earliest you can apply for real jobs. And what I mean is these are jobs that are actually hiring for, not contingent on winning a contract, not maybe we'll hire someone. The earliest you can start applying for real jobs is 2 to 3 months from the day you can start. Anything longer than that, like if you can't start for 4 months, 5 months, and the recruiter comes to us and says, hey, we got this perfect must hire, they can start in 5 months. I'm going to say you obviously don't need that job if you can wait 3 to 4 months to start them. Let's not hire anybody at all, because that's about the bottom line at that point. So 2 to 3 months from the day you could start. And I'll tell you, when I was getting out, all the the large companies, I was talking to them 6, 7, 8 months. They're like, send me an email when you're 90 days out.
Yeah.
And we'll get the process started.
Yeah. Also, business changes a lot over the course of 6 months. So they might not know their needs for the next, 3 months ahead of time. So yeah, I would agree. 8 to 12 weeks.
So I don't know how I can help with the EIN. We went through CSC. So work with your vendors and reach out to the IRS. If you can, try not to call the IRS. You're never going to be on it. It's never going to be a quick call. So, all right. Why don't we go over to your opportunities, Tara? Then if we have time remaining, I've got a couple other things to talk about.
Yeah. First, I just want to remind everyone watching or listening today that if you go to our website, which is up above our heads, highmilitary.us, you can apply to be in our job pool or a SkillBridge pool, meaning you will find out first when new roles are posted or we have access to new resources. So last week, I emailed everyone in that pool about a new resume resource that we have and I've shared with our community. So if you are a job seeker, if you are a SkillBridge seeker, or you just want to stay in the know, go head over to highmilitary.us and sign up for our SkillBridge or our job pool. That's first. Today, I'm going to be talking about 2 SkillBridge opportunities. So for SkillBridge, you do need to be currently active duty, approaching your last 180 days of service. The first role is going to be our friends at Texas Instruments for the equipment technician role. So I will tell you, guys, I talk about these openings pretty frequently because I love them. And I'm here to tell you those positions are going quickly. So there is a start date in September that I have a few slots left, but I'm telling you, they're going fast. I sent out 2 acceptance letters this morning. So look, the numbers are going quickly. So this role is the equipment technician at either the Dallas location or Lehi, Utah. The cohort does start in September, but if you do meet the requirements, go ahead and apply anyway, and I will see what I can do for you. But we're looking for people that have mechanical aptitude. So someone who understands electronic systems, someone who has worked on engines, something like that. This is for their equipment technician role inside the lab. So we know how integral TI is with making things like microchips and all sorts of pieces of electronics that go into medical equipment, computers, all kinds of things that are used across various industries. So really important work. A lot of benefits to working this program. And one of them I mentioned last week, Mike, and I just want to say it again. There is also an opportunity that if you are a service member who is going to be relocating for this opportunity and you have a partner or a spouse that's coming with you, there is an Encore program where they could be eligible for a role at TI at the same time of your skill bridge. I'm telling you, no one else is doing this.
Never heard of that.
No.
We'll hire you and your spouse?
Yes. So let's say you're moving with a partner or a spouse. They are eligible to get an interview for a position that, I'm going to be honest, is very challenging to get without a personal referral. So they can at least get a first line interview. And I'm talking about roles that could be anything: finance, administration, logistics, anything. Okay. They will get an interview. I can't say that they're going to get a job, but they get an interview for an opportunity while the service member does their skill bridge. I'll pause.
I've never heard of
How
this.
cool is that? Yeah. We talked about it on our last call for TI. And I just want to reemphasize, this is something that they are committed to because they really want to have veterans on their staff and they want to participate in SkillBridge. And they are the first to recognize that the transition is really challenging, that this is an on-site opportunity that involves relocating potentially you and a family member, maybe multiple family members. And they want you to have a good experience because they want people to stay. So I think this is just another really great opportunity to explore, and knowing that there's an opportunity for maybe your partner or your spouse. And remember,
they're not just trying to hire veterans; they also want to hire military spouses.
They do, yeah, they do.
I'm even more of a fan of TI now, so that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's really a great role. Like I said, I already sent out 2 acceptance letters this morning. Both candidates have been really excited for this opportunity. We're excited to have them. So if you think this could be an opportunity for you, go ahead and check out our website and send an application. I also have someone who's so proactive. He's already been accepted for 2027. So these roles always go quickly. I mean, he had everything down. He's like, I go to tap this day, I separate this day. I'm ready to hit submit. He really wants this role, and I applaud him for that.
Wow, that is a stress-free transition right there.
1,000%.
You've already got your class date. You've already got this acceptance letter.
Yep.
If you do well, you're going to get a job offer at the end.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
He's ready to go. So that's our position at TI. Another position that I love is the Cribble Customer Success Engineer. And the reason I love this is because I think this is a great opportunity for veterans to have a little bit of ownership in account management. Everyone wants to be a project manager. Guys, I have to tell you, that's a really vague term. You can own a relationship, you can own a program or a project without being called a project manager. This customer success engineer is a blend between account management, so you are managing clients, their problems and solutions, as well as technical expertise on the Cribble product. So we're looking for someone who has strong background in logging metrics, IT, operations, or security, as well as someone who understands data and pipeline and how to manage that across the full cycle. So I'm thinking something like systems administrator, data analyst, information systems manager would probably be best in these roles. You can find all of those details on hiremilitary.us. Cribble also gives away their certifications for free. It is on their website. You can get the lowest certification in 8 hours. 8 hours, 1 hour a day, 1 week, you could be done. And you know, we had Robbie on for office hours a couple of weeks ago. People in the comments often ask, how do I stand out as a candidate? I'm telling you, getting one of those. We had a great candidate interview for a role at Cribble, very qualified. The team gave him some great feedback in, hey, it would be great if you had a little bit of knowledge of our product. So, hey, free 8-hour certification. Go ahead and check
Did they
that
go
out.
back and do the knowledge? Did they go back and do the certs?
That was the feedback I gave them. Yeah, hey, go back. Take a look at can you get a little bit of expertise in our product, and we can come back and have a conversation.
All right. Hopefully they're one of the 5% that actually does it.
Hopefully they're one of the 5%.
I would be like, dude, that's bank. I'm going to go take the first 2 certs and come back and show them I really want this opportunity. That's incredible.
1,000%. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thanks for sharing those 2 opportunities, Tara.
Yeah.
I've got a couple other topics. One is something for, a lot of people in our community. There are over 50,000 nonprofits out there in the veteran space. And there are a lot of companies that work in our community and everything else like that. And I just think, when we're in the military, we never say no. We're used to doing everything. Like, always do the mentorship, always do the investment, always take the call, always do everything else like that. And I just want people to realize that, when you get out, you get to choose, right? How you want to spend your time, right? If I always said yes to everything, I would have no time to do the things that I love. It'd be back in my military mode. I wouldn't have the time to spend with my kids. I wouldn't have the time to go to the gym. I wouldn't have the time to go watch every Eagles game. There's just so much more. I wouldn't have the time on my business. You have to decide where you want to spend your time. And the time is a finite number. So find your balance, your happiness. But part of it is, I see so many people volunteering for companies or businesses and not getting paid. And there's a balance to be found. Yeah. And that's what I want people to understand. There is a balance. If you are volunteering, you're doing stuff for free and it's making them money, then my answer is don't do it, right? Unless it's somebody that you love, a close friend, or they did something for you and you want to take care of them. I get asked all the time to do speaking engagements, all the time. If it's a close friend, I'll say sure. If it's someone that's helped me in the past, I'll say sure. This week I had one of my biggest mentors in my transition reach out and say, can we get on a call? I want you to review some stuff. And I'm like, anything for you. You changed my life. Anything. You ever need help, whatever, I got you. But a lot of other calls, there's people that want free stuff all the time. How do I post my job? How do I do this? I'm like, you're making money off of it. If you're making money off of it, I'm not doing it for free for you. What is your budget? Yeah. And that is a great way to asking what is your budget is a great way to determine how realistic they are in what they're asking. Yeah. And I have done free events before where there was low participation. I have never had low participation on a paid event. So if they really want, like if they're paying 10, 15, 20 grand, guess what? Everyone's going to be there. If you're just showing up for a free lunch and learn, you don't know what you're going to get. So I just want people to realize you decide how you spend your time, and to make sure that, don't be ashamed to ask for payment or compensation. What are your thoughts, Tara?
Yeah, I think when you say yes to something, you automatically say no to something else. So if you say yes to a speaking agent, maybe that's a no for family time. Maybe that's a no for another project. So your time is just like a budget. So would you spend all of your money, going out to eat or on a vacation and then have no money for your mortgage? Probably not, right? Probably not. And it's okay to volunteer your expertise. But remember, there's a limit. If you do something well, you never do it for free, almost never, and you don't do it for cheap.
And I had a friend that was at an event a few weeks ago. They volunteered to help a nonprofit at an event a few weeks ago. And the following week, the nonprofit set up like a call with all the people that volunteered, and they spent like 2 to 3 hours on the call going over, how the event went, what were the positives, what the negatives. And I'm like, I got angry for my friend.
Yeah.
Like I got angry. I'm like, that's BS. They are wasting your time. Yeah. That is not fair. You guys have already been so gracious to volunteer and they're going to have you sit on a 3-hour call. No.
Or that needs to be clear ahead of time, what my time commitment will be, so I can say yes or no at the beginning.
I would have said no anyway. Some of your questions, I'll send you some feedback, but that's me. I learned to be protective of my time.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then just the last piece is I want to remind people of this concept of social capital. And what I mean by that is, this is what networking is about. As you invest into your community in one way, shape, or form, it could be through volunteering, it could be through networking, it could be helping people, it could be posting content, whatever you're doing. Those are investments into what I call your social capital, your bank account of how much you've given to the community and given to other people. As you continue to invest, that account rises. But when you need something from people, you're taking withdrawals. And depending on what your need is, it can't exceed your balance. You can't go into the negatives. And so I just like to remind people that if you want to have a large social bank account, if you want people to be there for you when you need it, you have to start investing early. You've got to start doing things for people without expectation of compensation or anything back early, so that you're building that capital. Now, going back to this, learning how to say no, if it aligns with your social capital goals, that works.
Yeah.
But if a company says, we want you to pay, and they pay me, let's say they pay me $15,000 to speak, then I'm not getting a whole ton of social capital from them for that, because they're paying me. But that's okay. I'll take 15 grand. I have it else, I have money elsewhere. I've got networking elsewhere. I have that social capital elsewhere. You just have, as with anything, you have to find your balance. So I got a yes from Tara about that finding balance. She tries to keep our CEO Nick and I kind of reined in a little bit. It's a tough job.
I try.
I give her all the credit. And then just the last thing, as we close this all out, I do want to thank our partners at CNC Boiler Sales and Service. They are a family-owned business in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. They do commercial boilers, maintenance, sales, installation, everything, right? And you don't think about boilers too often until, like my mom, the building where she lives, the boiler went out. They've been without hot water for a few days. They had to buy a whole new commercial boiler, and she didn't understand. I said, Mom, I've spoken with the people at CNC. Yeah. I know what goes into these boilers, and to be able to provide hot water to a building that size, a big condo, is tough.
Totally.
And so, I said they probably should have had CNC come do some maintenance on it so that it keeps working. So CNC does have a fantastic SkillBridge program for transitioning service members. Yep. If you are technically able and you're willing to go to South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, they will train you to be a boiler tech. And they, if you do well, they'll offer you a job. It starts in the mid 60s, but escalates into six figures pretty quickly as you start getting more experienced. Some travel opportunities and everything else like that. So check out hiremilitary.us if you're interested in those roles. And with that, just a few minutes over. Anything else you want to add, Tara?
No, just remember to visit our website up above our heads for all the details on the jobs that we've talked about. And of course, follow us on LinkedIn for the continued conversation throughout the week about career navigation and opportunities. And thanks for joining us.
Great. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
See y'all.